First, we want to introduce the man behind this team in terms of putting it together, keeping it together, Hockey Hall of Famer, Vice President, General Manager Steve Yzerman. Steve, before we talk about your team here, we want to talk about something you were a part of, a big honor that took place in Toronto, the site of the World Cup, and took place on Friday as Canada Post, in helping to commemorate the NHL's centennial anniversary in 2017, are going to issue special stamps honoring certain Hall of Fame players, as well as an active player in Sidney Crosby, but yourself, Lightning founder Phil Esposito, Guy Lafleur, Mark Messier, Daryl Sittler, all part of a great ceremony on Friday. You will have a stamp issued by Canada Post to help commemorate that anniversary, and Steve, must have been a great honor. Congratulations.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, it was a lot of fun being up there with Espo and as you said, Daryl, Guy Lafleur, Mark Messier, and Sidney Crosby as well. I think there may be one more I might be missing in there, but a great, Daryl Sittler. There's a great group of guys to be involved with, and they called me to ask if I'd be interested, if I'd like to be on a stamp, and I thought that was pretty exciting, actually.
That's tremendous. As we get ready for the season here, and the players still involved in the World Cup, as we learn the opponent for Team Canada in the finals coming up this week, but so many Lightning players and head coach John Cooper involved. How do you think that heavy a participation, more than any other team in the league, of course, will impact the Lightning in this season?
Well, I think it's positive. They'd be, if they hadn't gone to the World Cup, they'd be at home or here in Tampa training, preparing for the season. This gets them kind of a head start on the regular season ahead of the rest of the league, even our own players. They've been playing really virtually playoff-type games as opposed to preseason games. So it wasn't that long, and it wasn't that many games. Fortunately, we still got a couple of games left, but everybody, to my knowledge, has gotten through it healthy. So I think this is great for the players, great for their conditioning, great for their preparation going into the season, and really, good for them to be around the other best players in the world, particularly the younger guys who haven't been through it before, to learn a lot from, even Stammer, to be around the Crosbys and the top Canadian players, learn from more NHL coaches, Babcock, Quenneville, Claude Julien. It's good for them all. So I'm excited to get them all back. We keep our fingers crossed that they remain healthy throughout it, and it'll help us start our season.
Steve, when the summer starts, as soon as the season ends, for a general manager in the National Hockey League, you have to do a reassessment and start from there and build for this coming season. What do you take from last season?
Well, we've repeatedly said we like our team. We've had two pretty good years in a row, trying to keep it together, but still we need to get a little bit better, try and somehow get over the hump, advance further in the playoffs. So we've been able to retain the majority of our players. As you know, Stammer, Victor re-signed, Killer, and a couple other guys, the younger players, restricted free agents. We still got Cooch and Nesty to work on, and hopefully we'll get something done there. But we like our team. I really like the players, the character of the players, the skill level of the players, the competitiveness. It's now kind of just getting over the hump, and for some of our guys, younger players with just getting more and more experience is going to make them better. But as we've got into the playoffs, you see how important it is to get contributions from everyone and both ends of the rink, and we're counting on some of the younger guys that are going to play a little bit more to contribute a little bit more.
Do you ever get any time off? Do you have any summer?
Yeah, August has pretty much become the off season in the NHL. As soon as the season ends, you kind of, for a general manager, you get very busy because you're preparing for the draft. If you have contracts, which we did this summer, getting those organized, and then getting ready for July 1 in your rookie camp. We had a couple of potential arbitration cases, which we never got to, but you're preparing for those as well. But August, again, is really a quiet month in the league, so that, for 4 or 5 weeks there, it didn't have a whole lot to do.
Steve, when you look at this team coming into the season, and you compare it to last year at this time. Jonathan Drouin, of course, we saw how much he grew late in the regular season, the opportunity in the playoffs, what a threat he became in his growth as a person and as a player. Tyler Johnson at this time, of course, was still battling the recovery from the broken wrist and was not the player that we've seen before. Now Johnson's healthy. Jonathan's got not only the experience of the World Cup, but last year to build on. Do they kind of seem like new players to you as far as what their potential can be and the impact they can have on this team?
Well, I'll start with Jonathan. His impact in the last 2 regular season games and throughout the playoffs, he was a difference maker for us, and we look for him to continue that. So he plays the way he did in the playoffs. We're a better team to start this year compared to last year. We had Johnny and I think Cedric Paquette really banged up at the start of the year, and it took a long time for those guys to get healthy. Again, today they're healthy, and we hope they continue to be healthy every day. So I think that makes us better. And then I just look at our defense. Andre Suster, I felt, took a significant step last year for us. I'm confident to say he's a better player today than he was a year ago at this time. So, and then in goal, Andre Vasilevsky's had even more experience. He'll play a little bit more. How many starts the goaltenders get, I'm not sure. But we think we're deeper in goal. All these younger players are a little bit better every year. Vladdy Nemesnikov as well. Look for him to get a more increased role. I watched him play in the World Cup the last couple of games for Russia, and he really played well. He asserted himself. He looked like a good player out there. So we think with each of these young guys maturing another season, we're theoretically a better team starting the season today than we were a year ago. We'll see if that translates onto the ice come the regular season.
There's a lot of movement around the league in the offseason for every team. When you look at the division and the conference in particular, which is most concerning to you, how does it stack up? What do you see from other teams around the league as far as how they've improved or changed?
I look at our division. Within our division, Boston signs David Backes, who's a big, strong, hard guy to play against. I would think they're going to be a better team. Toronto for sure is going to be a better team. They're adding Austin Matthews. They made a couple other changes. They're going to move some younger players in. They're going to be tougher. Buffalo was good last year. They're going to be an even better team. These younger guys just keep getting better. So Florida won the division last year. Sasha Barkov, one of the best young centermen in the league. Aaron Ekblad has evolved into already at such a young age an elite defenseman. We're going to have our hands full with Florida. That's just within our division. It's going to be difficult, let alone the conference. It's very competitive, and I think our division is a great division to be in. Montreal will have Carey Price healthy, which is he's an impact player. Every night he's in the net, they have a chance to win. So our division is going to get tougher. We're counting on, again, our younger players. We didn't make a lot of changes this summer. We're counting on these younger guys to play a bigger role and contribute more.
That's why you've always said it's make the playoffs first, right? You don't talk as much to your team about Stanley Cup at the beginning of the year, do you? It's make the playoffs because of what you're just saying now.
So many things can happen during the course of a year, and the playoffs are so far off. Like, there's no sense talking about the playoffs yet other than our goal, we have to get in. And I say this every year. I think I'm up here. It's not as easy as everyone assumes. And now we're going to be a 31-team league next year. Half the league makes it, half the league doesn't, and it's a fine line. You look at the teams that are in and out. You're going into that last week of the season, and we need to get a couple wins to make sure you're in. So over the course of 6 months, three or four wins make the difference of making it or not. And if you don't make it, your chances of winning the cup are pretty slim.
Steve, one thing with how you've assembled this team and how you've kept it together that doesn't show up in the stats is the leadership quality and the quantity of leaders you've got here. And Brian and I see it, and people around the team every day see how tight this group is, but the leadership seems to be kind of under the radar in terms of the strength, the inner strength of this team and how it's been translating on the ice in these last few years.
Well, we put great value in character, and from top to bottom, I think we got a really strong group of guys, and guys with character kind of are natural leaders. I think we've got a good group of guys. They enjoy the friendship, the camaraderie that they have, but they're also all very competitive. I like stability. Trying to create an identity with our team, And our fans know who our players are, what our team is about, know our players. I want everybody to know that. So you keep the stability, and we kind of build, you hear that word culture in sports a lot, trying to have, I guess, our own culture, and that's with high character guys, very competitive guys, really good players, confident guys. They're leaders, and we're fortunate to have that group and try and figure out a way, two things, to keep it all together and try to win a Stanley Cup.
Speaking of culture, the amount of time that you've been here, you have your culture in the room and of the team. How much have you seen the culture of the Tampa Bay Lightning, including the fans and the fan base, change since you've been here?
You know, when I came, it was a year into, Jeff had just purchased the team. There was a lot of changes in the building throughout all the different departments of the Lightning. So it was really evolving. Just today we're going to see potentially 10,000 people here. The enthusiasm that our fan base has for the team is very infectious for our players. They appreciate it. They really, this is a good building to come play in. It's a good building to watch a game in. So, and we hear the players when they sign their new contracts talk about, I really like playing there. They like playing here. They like playing in the building. They like living in Tampa. They like the support we get from our fan base as well. It's, the atmosphere for a game, and I get, again, friends coming in, new people coming into the building all the time. What a great place to watch a game. So the atmosphere is very, very good. Jeff, Todd Lightwicki, while he was here, and Steve Griggs done a tremendous job, improving the arena, improving the atmosphere in the building, and it's kind of carried out throughout from our ownership all the way down through our team, through our fan base.
And it makes it easier. If you want to go after a free agent, it makes it a little easier to sell for you. You got so many positive things here that you can offer a free agent coming from another team.
It does help for sure. We've got a lot of things we can sell them on, and we try to use all of those to our advantage. We're like realtors. But ultimately, players, the majority of them, they're looking for, free agents are looking for a good opportunity. What's a good fit for them? And then ultimately, what's the contract that makes sense? And do they have a chance to win? Those are the things they're really looking for. But we do have a lot to offer down here. And, we've been able to sign some free agents, and we've certainly had a lot of discussions with other free agents and made them think about, coming here before they made their decision.
Steve, you mentioned, you certainly expect to get Nikita Kucherov signed. And here we are, training camp getting underway. Obviously, he's occupied and has been with Team Russia in the World Cup, but things are going in a positive direction, you think, with Kuch?
Obviously, we want to get him under contract, get him back in here as soon as possible. We'll continue to work towards that. He was at the World Cup. They finished last night. It's hard to concentrate on, we talked to his agent. He's in the middle of this tournament for the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's focused on playing for now that it's over, now we can continue to push harder and see if we can't get something done. But again, he's a great player. He's exactly what we want in a player and a person for our organization. So I'm very hopeful we'll get something figured out.
Now, in these past couple of years, when people around the league talk about the Lightning, a lot of times they're talking about the offense. And you touched on it in terms of the defense, the improvement, the growth of an Andre Schuster. And I can remember when you first started, you said, well, we're pointing toward defense by committee at that point. It was a young Victor Hedman at that time. Now we've seen him blossom. You've added Anton Stralman, Jason Garrison. Schuster's a part of that. We saw Slater Cuckoo coming in last year with Braden Coburn. You've got James Wisniewski here in camp. Nikita Nesterov still obviously a part of things as he gets signed. Luke Witkowski and others. Tell us how this defensive group is developing. I mean, you look at the improvement of this team. Incrementally, it's been defense has been a tremendous improvement here. That involves everybody, but that unit, I think, is really developed.
Well, going back a couple seasons, Coop addressed the team at the start of training camp about, if we want to have success in the playoffs, we want to be perennially a team amongst the top teams in the league, we have to be a good defensive hockey club. So not specifically our defense core, but as a team, we've got to commit. Our goal is to be top 10. Our goal is to be number 1, but in the top 10 in fewest goals allowed, top 10 in fewest shots allowed, a very good penalty killing unit in the top 10. Those translate to success in the playoffs. So in order to get into those top 10 or top 5 in those categories, you need good goaltending. You need a team that's committed to playing defense. That includes your forwards. And then obviously you need a good defensive core. For defenders, it's a hard league to play in. Under the new rules, if you want to call it, the way the game is officiated, it's really difficult on the D-men to defend. And they get, use your stick a lot. You get a lot of penalties. You really got to defend. You got to be smart. You got to defend with your body and get in the way. It's all about positioning and skating. We look at Andre Suster, how he's evolved over time. Victor's 7 years in, 6 years in now, I think. I'm going to go through his contract here. 4 and 3, 7 years in. He's just hitting his prime. These D-men at 25, that's when kind of they settle in. And Anton's been real good for us, and Braden, Jason Garrison. We have interesting competition now. You mentioned some of the names with Nesterov, Kuku competing for ice time. James Wisniewski's here on a tryout. Luke Witkowski has played games for us. He's looking to try and make this team. So we've got some difficult decisions to make, but we really like our defensive core. They're big, they're strong, they're mobile. We got some skill guys, but being a good defensive hockey team starts with the coaching staff. It's a mindset, and we count on every player to be conscientious defensively.
How much has it caused you, the way the game has changed, how much has it caused you to look at the way you look at players, free agents, the type of players that you want? You want a skating team, you want a team that handles the puck. Has that evolved or changed much over the time that you've been a general manager, or even when you first started in management when you were in Detroit before you came here?
It hasn't changed a whole lot. The type of players, the type of team that kind of I envision us having, the rules haven't changed it that much, haven't changed my idea, but what has come and you see around the league, it's more important that guys have to be good to play in the NHL and be an effective player. You got to be able to keep up with the pace of the play now, particularly for the defenders. You just can't be a guy who kind of gets in the way and uses your stick to slow people down and defend with that. You have to be a skater. But kind of the type of team we've kind of always I've always envisioned, kind of the teams I played on and worked with when I was in Detroit. So the new rules have just made it even more important for guys. You got to be able to skate. The overall pace of the game now, it's back and forth, particularly when you get into 4-on-4 situations and 3-on-3 and overtime. You got to be able to get up and down the ice.
Have you noticed it any more difficult this year than in the last couple of years? You were talking about Kucherov a moment ago, getting guys signed, the Stamkos situation, Victor Hedman signed, Killorn signed. Now, Kuch, you're trying to get that done. When you look around the league, you got Jacob Trouba in Winnipeg, you got Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary, some big important players that they have, and several others around the league too, where training camps are open and it's really tough to get these guys signed. Is it any more difficult now than it was a couple of years ago?
Well, again, I think a lot of it is the system. You meant all the names you mentioned are restricted free agents who don't have arbitration rights. So the players with arbitration rights, and Nemesnikov, Alex Killorn, there's kind of a hard deadline if we want to either go to arbitration or settle on a long-term deal. Both of those players we were able to reach agreement on deals that are longer. The unrestricted free agents, the Steven Stamkos, for example, July 1, there's a hard deadline. So kind of at some point, both sides got to pull the trigger on something, or else you lose the player. So for the restricted free agents, there's not really a hard deadline. The closest deadline you can have probably is it the first day of training camp or the first day of the regular season, because now both sides really got a difficult or got to make a decision. Are they prepared to? Is the club prepared to let a player hold out, or willing to let him hold out, and is the player willing to hold out? So all these, every year there's a half dozen. This year there seems to be a few more of the restricted free agents without arb rights not yet signed, and I would assume, and history has shown, that gradually over the next couple of weeks they all eventually get signed and get in here.
Well, Steve, we really appreciate your spending time with us today, and the insight you provide to us really helps us understand the Lightning scene a lot better, and certainly a lot to be excited about as those signings were coming fast and furious. Steven, then 2 days later, Victor, and so forth. Seeing a lot of fan favorites, a lot of great hockey players staying together for this 2016-17 season. Congratulations on what you're able to accomplish this summer, and good luck in the season.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you. During today's scrimmages, if you get a chance, a lot of the guys that were at the World Cup won't be here, but if you get a chance, watch some of the younger kids that, this will be your first chance to see some of the younger kids that we drafted this year, some of the kids from last year's draft. But we went over to Florida and played in a little tournament over there, and these young players did really, really well. They're a lot of fun to watch, so, pay close attention to some of the new kids in the organization. We're excited about the future. I can't tell you they're going to be here this year, next year, or the year after, but we're really encouraged by some of the young kids that are here, and you'll get a chance to see them in the scrimmages today. But most of all, thanks a lot for coming today and really supporting our team. Our players really, really appreciate the enthusiasm our fan base has for the team. It really helps us. Thank you.
All right, Steve Yzerman, everybody.